Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for choosing Across the Fence. I'm Will Michael in for Fran Stoddard. Today we're putting the spotlight on Vermont agriculture. With the legislature returning to session next month, important policy and budget questions about agriculture will be debated. And at the same time, farmers and producers around the state will continue to provide us all with a wide range of high-quality foods and beverages while they forge new markets and create new products. The total economic impact of agriculture in Vermont is $8.5 billion, according to a 2022 industry analysis, which includes direct and indirect economic activity. Notably, the industry generates $1.94 billion in wages and another $1.7 billion in total taxes. Dairy remains the top agricultural economic driver, but crops, fruits, vegetables, and maple are all significant contributors to the overall economic impact of agriculture in our state. To learn more this afternoon, we're calling on the Vermont Secretary of Agriculture, Anson Tebbetts. Anson, good afternoon. Thank you for making the time to be with us.
Good afternoon, Will.
So as we head into the new year, we're closing out 2022. What's the overall state of agriculture in Vermont?
Well, as you saw in those graphics, it's very, very important to our economy. We're focused on growing the economy in Vermont and growing the agriculture economy. It has its ups and downs. We've all been hit by inflation over the last year or so, and that's certainly happening in the agriculture sector. But our farmers and producers are resilient. They continue to forge ahead despite some of those strong headwinds. And we're encouraged about what's happening in agriculture. There's tremendous need out there, but it's important to our overall economy in Vermont because we're really focused in this administration trying to focus on helping the rural areas of Vermont. And of course, agriculture would be front and center with trying to help rural Vermont.
Is there, I know there's more than one, but is there a particularly bright spot to highlight in Vermont?
Well, once again, I think we're really focused on a lot of places are working on value-added products. That seems to be where there seems to be growth. We continue to see that in dairy. We have a number of cheesemakers, whether they're making an artisan cheese, that seems to be going pretty well. Also, butter, yogurt, all those, and direct to the consumer seems to be another thing that's really a highlighted trend. We saw this coming out of the pandemic where folks were trying to get their products through e-commerce. We've seen tremendous growth, and we're just coming off the holiday season with a lot of folks sending Vermont products through the mail. And I think that is a bright spot that's happened over the last year or so.
Excellent points. We know that historically one of the many challenges in agriculture has been the price paid to farmers, particularly dairy farmers, for their milk. Is there a milk price outlook for 2023?
Well, we're a little cautious about what's happening with the dairy industry and the price of milk. We have seen some record highs over the last year, and that's been encouraging, particularly on the conventional side. Now we're seeing maybe a little bit of rollback on that, and that's it's not quite sure where it's all headed with that. But over the last year, we've seen some tremendous prices paid to our conventional farmers. We are very concerned about the organic market. They have not seen those price increases paid to the farmer, but they've seen tremendous increases on feed and fuel prices, particularly organic grain has gone up about 50%. So that's putting at risk a number of our organic producers.
And those organic producers, as well as the agency, even the general public, is aware of actions you were taking earlier this year with some of the contracts. This has been an ongoing issue in the organic sector.
Yeah, we saw the contracts. We saw a couple of our milk handlers pick up those farmers that were at risk of losing their market. But with that, we've seen just a tremendous, and it all stems from the world market that we're in. We had some grain that was coming out of India that's no longer available. So the supply of that forced up prices, transportation costs are high. We've got some programs out there for our organic producers through USDA, trying to work on those transitions. We've added some money for infrastructure. Some farmers had to make some adjustments on their farm to pick up those markets, and we did that. And the state legislature and the governor stepped in with about $200,000 as well. So some encouraging signs on the infrastructure side for help for our organic farmers, but still many at risk because of what's happening on the feed and fuel side for them.
And as you're pointing out, these are international issues. The days of a state or regional or even national issues, we're way beyond that.
Absolutely. Everything we touch now has either a regional, national, or international element to it, particularly dairy. Dairy, we export about 17% of our dairy to other countries. So that plays an incredible role. 1-2% shift anyway, and that can really impact what farmers are paid for their products. So have to keep our eye on the international market, and it's just the fact of we're dealing with the economy in Vermont right now.
Anson, going back decades, there have been various reports or commissions that have looked at the future of agriculture in our state. Last February, the state launched the Governor's Commission on the Future of Agriculture. Do you have a particular take or vision on the future? What is happening?
Well, that commission, it continues to meet. And I think one thing that we found is we really need to work on the infrastructure. Some of these costs to make it more affordable to do business in Vermont. Take a slaughterhouse. We made some investments coming out of that commission. We made some recommendations to make some investments in our infrastructure with our slaughterhouses. We need to have a more regional approach to our food supply. So that's what we need. Distribution is huge with how we get our products to market. We're making some headway on that, but we need to do more. And also we need to do a better job of trying to market our products to the region. We are blessed with some big markets to the south of us in Boston and New York and Washington, and we can produce wonderful products for them, but that does take some marketing dollars as well.
And as you're pointing out, also the infrastructure dollars, appreciate you raising the slaughterhouse issue. That historically has been a pinch point, and yet we learned a couple of months ago there has been a federal and state investment to help smooth that out.
Yeah, the USDA through their rural development arm, they've invested about $500,000 into a slaughterhouse in Ferrisburg. The Working Lands Enterprise, we invested in that as well. And then the Commerce Agency, that was one of the things that came out of the Ag Commission. We made some recommendations about infrastructure dollars. We're working closely with the Agency of Commerce and Community Development. They had some dollars available. So we're trying to encourage all agriculture enterprises to look at the Commerce Agency. They've got some dollars. They've got some granting programs that are out now that work on infrastructure. Also, broadband, sewer, water, all very, very important for rural Vermont. We need to be connected, and we need that sort of the foundation to produce more products and get them to market.
Attracting and retaining young people, key to so much of Vermont and our future economy, and young people working in food, fiber, and a whole lot more. You recently visited with members of the Alpha Gamma Rho fraternity at the University of Vermont. Many students there eyeing agriculture, careers rather in agriculture. You were with them alongside their chapter advisor, Patrick Brown, UVM Extension Director Roy Beckford. What did you take away from this small visit with the students? What was the take-home message?
Well, it was just a wonderful chance to sit down and have an evening supper with them and talk about their studies and what they're looking at. A lot of them were going into their exams, so they were a little anxious about getting their exams done. But we had a lot of conversations about the future. Many of them are getting towards the end of their career at UVM, so they're looking at jobs or internships. Many of them want to move into agriculture, whether it's in Vermont or possibly in another state. But there seems to be a lot of energy around people wanting to give back to the community, and this particular club seems to be focused on trying to either work in a space where they're close to the land or close to the people, making a product. And they all have a sort of a business savvy end to them as well, taking their economic courses, which is also very important as we move through agriculture.
A couple of times we've talked about the Working Lands Enterprise Initiative. It's one of the many ways that the agency is supporting agriculture in a number of ways and our rural economy around the state. At any given time, your agency has a number of grant programs and initiatives. Is there something in the forefront right now?
Absolutely. We're right in the middle of a number of our programs. And because the economy has been so robust over the last couple of years, a lot of federal dollars have arrived in Vermont. We have record levels of dollars in the Working Lands program now. More than $3 million will be distributed. And again, that goes back to some of the things about infrastructure, freezer space, maybe a new piece of equipment, maybe something that just makes it a little bit more affordable to do business. So I'd encourage anyone to go to our website. We have a calendar of our granting programs, including the Working Lands program. Record dollars in that. The base dollars now, we have more than $1 million we're giving out each year, but we've had some extra money because of some of the federal dollars that have come our way over the last couple of years.
And we will definitely provide that website before we go. I do have one more quick question before we run out of time. It's Christmas trees. In advance of Christmas, you were with the governor on a visit to White's Tree Farm in Essex. That's part of the annual tree cutting celebration. What have you heard about how well the season went for growers? What's the future of Christmas tree growers in our state?
Well, when I talk to growers, they say, we do need more trees. Some of the things that happened through the pandemic, there was a period of time a couple of years ago and even last year where we were getting out and that was an event we could go to. So a lot of people returned to cutting their trees, which hurt the supply. It takes about 8 years to get a nice mature tree. So the Tree Growers Association, they tell me they need more trees. They are encouraging more people if they think that they would like to get into this business. They need that. And some of the operations closed a little bit early. Sometimes they would go right up to the day of Christmas. But this year, some of them closed a couple of weeks early because they were running out of inventory. There's a wholesale market and there's a retail market. So it's pretty robust now. But I think we need more trees is what the message is.
Well, to learn more about trees, how to grow them, how to raise them in Vermont, or any other aspect of agriculture in our state, we're encouraging you to visit the agency's website. The address is on your screen, agriculture.vermont.gov. You can get the latest news from AgriView and learn about everything from animal health to water quality. Anson Tebbetts, Vermont Secretary of Agriculture, thank you very much for spending time with us this afternoon.
Thank you, Will.
And that is our program for today. We know you have choices, so thanks for choosing us. I'm Will Michael, inviting you to join us back here each weekday afternoon for another visit across the fence.